Chapter 10. The 13th of July 2009. 1 p.m. Jhalda Police Station, West Bengal.
What the hell was that, sir?
Ryan hopped in mild anger. He had been waiting for them to be alone before expressing his discontent. There was no way they could start a possible brawl in front of Chiranjit. Even I don't know, Savitoj said as he stormed into the cabin. They arrived at Jhalda police station with more information than all the relevant documents had enlightened them with. The afternoon sky was calm and dark blue. It had been drizzling lightly for an hour now. They were visiting Jhalda police station for the second time since their arrival, but it was now that a special, well-occupied space was allotted to them to carry out their work. Ryan strolled in the cabin in search of water, while Savitoj took out a cold spray can for his neck. His neck had been strained for too long now. As they settled down, a constable approached them.
A panika kaso?
What? Savitoj, being Punjabi, was alien to those words.
Yes.
Ryan said, nodding. The constable nodded back and returned. He reached for the door and gestured too with his fingers in the direction of another constable.
He asked for tea.
Ryan answered, confused looking, Savitoj staring at him. Savitoj squeaked his eyes with his lips pinched astonishingly. Ryan had the same look but with a hint of a mischievous smile.
Yes, my mom is a Sikh, but my dad was a Bengali Christian. In his late 20s, he shifted to Assam, where he took his last breath. He taught me a few basics over time. For that reason, I understand a bit of Bengali. A bunch of words sounds familiar.
Just hand me your notes. Savitoj didn't intend to hear more. How did I get stuck between all these rice and fish eating people? Savitoj wondered. An absolute stereotype. The constable returned with a young kid wearing a worn-out tank top and Bermuda shorts holding the tea in glass cups. Ryan directed him to keep the glasses. Savitoj took the beverage while adding something to the notes kept on the table. The constable, who had ordered the tea, stood still, glancing at Ryan's gold-plated G-Shock. Savitoj raised his head and found the constable staring at Ryan's wrist. He then turned towards Ryan. Hey, Mr. Assamese, tell him to arrange a booth. I want to contact the Ministry of Home Affairs. We need to keep them updated. They shouldn't feel like we are lurking unknowingly, just lazing out our pace. I want to know more about this Dwirup. Ryan translated his senior's order to the constable. There were fewer words and more hand gestures. There are scarcely any common words between the Bengali and Assamese vocabulary. Ryan didn't speak any of them fluently but was able to understand and convey some of the messages. With a hint of a smile, the constable pointed him towards the table where a sub-inspector was on the phone.
Ham, take pai chilma.
The inspector spoke politely and hung up. Savitoj rose from his seat and approached the telephone booth, scrolling through for the number in his mobile. Making an interstate call to the ministry needed to be done on a secure line. Besides, it was also better to keep a few conversations on telephone records. Ryan took a glance at his diary to notice the scribbling done by his senior. He took a closer look to figure out what Savitoj had written. It read, Property Murders, 5. He turned a few pages. There were other few short sentences with many numbers on top like 25, 40, and so on, and a few dates here and there. He didn't understand anything at all. Savitoj took a long time on the phone. Ryan read the jotted down statements, trying to deduce what made Savitoj write the things he did. He scratched his head for some possible clues, but when he couldn't come up with any, he kept the diary aside. Savitoj returned. Come on, zip up your bags. We are going to Kolkata tomorrow. Savitoj ordered. He scrolled through his phone once again and kept it back in his pocket.
Kolkata. Why?
Ryan enquired. Lipore Central Jail, Kolkata. It's where Dwirup was held prisoner before he escaped the execution. They have a copy of all the files on Dwirup.
So why not order the copies here?
I need to speak with the officers personally in Kolkata. We also want to find out if there is any other important information in other related copies. Savitoj spoke, sipping the tea lightly.
Okay, sir. By the way, why have you written this?
Ryan asked, pointing towards the sentence property murder. Yes. About that. It all reflects the old times when I was first appointed as a trainee to my senior in Mohali. He gave me details about a bunch of cases and told me to draw conclusions. So that's what I have written.
And the number?
It represents the probability of the outcome to be true. Having these kinds of statistics helps to arrive at accurate conclusions and prioritize the important stuff, and at the same time reflect all the remaining rare possibilities. Mathematics never lie, son. I think you should also keep the same habit of maintaining a probability diary. You will learn a lot, eventually.
So, what does property murder indicate?
Keep something for tomorrow. It's more than a 7-hour drive. And when traveling with you, it's hard to kill time. Savitoj winked with a cheerful smile. He took out his cell phone again and checked it one last time while drinking up the last few drops from the glass. Ryan was not sure what was happening, but from Savitoj's expressions, he deluded that his senior had apparently cracked the case. Ryan shook his head and packed the important documents. He slid the diary back in his pocket. We will make a quick stop on the way, Savitoj said. I need to buy a cervical collar first. My neck is about to get detached from my spine, and I don't want the agony to multiply during our long journey.